When we are live.
Hello and welcome to our third episode on Destination India. Our series began with the northern region, followed by the popular western region. It is now time to showcase the exotic east of our country. The evening is also graced by our esteemed panelists. We have with us Mr. Sagnik Chaudhary, Regional Director, Eastern Region, Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Tapas Banerjee, Managing Director of Trinitra Tours, and Mr. Devjit Datta, Chairman IATO and President ADTO West Bengal. Before we carry on with the evening, I would like to mention that the Digital Traveler Series is a joint initiative with South Asian Travel Awards, popularly known as SATA. Here's a quick introduction about India City Walks. Recipients of various awards, both nationally and internationally, we deliver best immersive experiences and share stories of sustainability, social impact, cultural knowledge in India. Our mission is to take Indian tourism synergies on a platform where it attracts maximum interest through the exciting variety of culture and the nuances of diverse themes. We have been curating tours, experiences, walks, and specialty sessions for the wide audience across the globe. I now request Mr. Shaman, Director of Communications, to introduce SATA.
Thank you, Nidhi. First of all, thank you for being part of this show, our dear esteemed panelists, and for the viewers, thank you for taking your time to listen to our show as well. A little bit brief about South Asian Travel Awards, SATA. We are an organization in which we have been trying to recognize the best of South Asia's hospitality and the travel industry since 2016. We have over 39 categories and participated by over 500 properties and nominations around the region. We have been doing this for the past 4-5 years, and then we look forward to have this annual gathering this year and the years ahead. And about the digital traveler, we thought that this is the best time to showcase the region to the whole world. As such, we associated with India City Walks to showcase the region. As such, we are in India first. We have done north, west, and then now we have going to study more about the eastern parts of India. And I think our association with India City Walks is the best partnership yet to do a program like this. And we hope to do more of this in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shaman, for that. Similar to our last session, this session has two segments. The first segment begins with a very brief orientation on India, followed by a presentation on the Eastern region, covering some of its prominent states, cities, and their experiences. Our second segment covers the Q&A session with our distinguished panelists. As we keep mentioning, India is a diverse country, and Indians take pride in unity in diversity. Let us begin our session with a glimpse of India's diversity. History, heritage, culture, tradition, scenic beauty, geographical diversity, this country has it all. A land of multilingual, multicultural, and heterogeneous population, we do not cease to charm any traveler who sets their foot here. With 28 states, 8 union territories, 22 official languages, 19,500 tongues spoken, we surely can overwhelm anyone. One of our prime attractions to many world leaders, celebrities, and all kinds of travelers, India is the home to spirituality. Yes, we have approximately 33 million gods and goddesses in the Hindu pantheon for approximately 1.3 billion population. They say, if you seek, you shall find, and that is what defines India. Of course, this pandemic has taught us more than ever that health is wealth. And amongst many things, India has also gifted the world the science of yoga. This is something that many of us have incorporated in our daily lifestyle. Our culture and tradition is best experienced in the deep-rooted classical music, diverse range of cinema, and of course, in the beauty of colorfully woven threads. With this brief introduction into India's diverse attraction, let us proceed to the land of music, literature, and joy. This is our eastern part of the country, a region which has deep-rooted affection for culture and literature. So without any further delay, let us begin with the list of states that we will be covering in the Eastern Belt today. This being tourism and hospitality centric series of webinars, we have chosen the places according to the defining grounds of both the industries. And hence we will be covering Bihar, West Bengal, Orissa, Jharkhand, Northeast in the next 30 minutes. The first one on our list is Bihar, a state which has the oldest universities in the world. It is now my privilege to hand over to my colleagues, Dr. Shomi Roy and Shomrita Sen Gupta, to take us forward through the states of the East. Over to Shomrita. Thank you.
Bihar, a state in the eastern part of our country. Bihar shares its border with our neighboring country, Nepal. Famous for its Buddhist circuits and the state's contribution to the list of civil servants in the country, the state has a rich ancient history. Well connected by all modes of transportation, intercity movement can be done primarily by rail and road. Let us now move on to understand the historic significance of the state. With a glorious ancient history, Bihar has been acclaimed as the birthplace of Buddhism in the world. The state also houses one of the earliest universities in the world. From the great Emperor Ashoka to the reign of Guptas, the Palas, medieval kingdoms, and the English rule, Bihar has been a witness to diverse reigns and rules. Bihar has a fair balance of heritage and archaeological offerings for any tourist. Alongside, the state also gives the traveler an ample opportunity to witness the hinterland of our country. India City Walks, after an extensive research, has curated some of the best experiences of the state. For any traveler, the state has great offerings under the umbrella of heritage experiences, art experiences on Madhubani paintings, and spiritual circuits. Special mention to our vertical Buddha Walks, exclusively offered by India City Walks, is an enlightening journey dedicated to the spiritual path covering that places that are associated with the Lord Buddha in the state and beyond. This immersive experience is guaranteed to bring your mind, body, and soul together. To experience the touristic offerings, one can visit the listed cities on the slide and the following. It is important to mention that Patna and Bodh Gaya are two places where people visit to seek the blessings of Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and Lord Gautama Buddha. Nalanda, Vaishali, and Rajgir, again famous for their ancient historic roots and the Buddhist stupas. If archaeology and religion fascinate you, please visit these places. Sasaram connects us to the medieval past. This is the birthplace of Sheshasuri, the man who constructed one of the first highways in India called the Grand Trunk Road. Visiting a city or a state and not trying their delicacies, that's not possible. Let us tell you what to try when you visit Bihar. Here on the slide, listed are the most famous ones. But yes, Litti Choka and Tekwa are a must try. In fact, Litti Choka is so famous that many other cities outside Bihar also offer it. Like always, food brings us to festivity. Many prominent festivals, some of them are listed on the slide, but the one that draws everyone's attention is Chhat Puja, a festival around the sun god. Now, from Bihar, let's move on to our neighboring state, West Bengal. One of the key states on the eastern coastline, West Bengal, attracts different types of tourists. Let us take a sneak peek into the states with some of the major tourist cities within the state. The state is very well connected through rail, road, and airway. In fact, some parts of the state could be experienced through riverine routes also. The state prides itself with its intellectual and literary capital. Most Nobel Prize winners of the Indian origin actually hail from West Bengal. Ancient Bengal was the site of major Janapadas, while the earliest cities date back to the Vedic period, followed by the medieval rule and an extensive European rule. Portuguese, Dutch, and French and English, they all found reasons to be part of the history of West Bengal. The state has a diverse of offerings, gives an option to travel even if you wish to experience different terrains or different culture. From history, heritage, cuisine, nature, and forest, hills, or sea, you will get it all in this state. This slide and the next has some of the listed genres of offerings that can be easily clubbed together depending on the traveler's interests areas. India City Walks has done an extensive research curating some of the best experiences of the state, which includes heritage walk, nature walk, spiritual connection, adventure, or wildlife experience. You can find it all. It wouldn't be wrong to mention that beyond the usual, West Bengal also offers dedicated culture tours. The capital of the state, Kolkata, is a must visit if you wish to understand the cultural nuances of the state in a nutshell. Darjeeling is globally famous for its tea blends, also one of the unique rail experiences. The narrow gauge Darjeeling Himalayan Railway is part of the vintage experience and is a World Heritage Site. Sundarbans too is a World Heritage Site and is one of the largest mangroves forests in the world. Srirampur, Barakpur, Shantiniketan, and Chandannagar are some of the must visit if you wish to experience the confluence of the European cultures with India. With all the confluence and rooted tradition comes the diverse offering of delicacies. Be it snacks, main course, or dessert, this state has an inexhaustible list of food items. In the two slides, we have managed to name a few. Among the various mentioned here, I would like to point out to Rashogolla, which is something that everybody loves throughout the country and is one of our favorite too. In the next slide, we have few more delicacies, and among them, the many mentioned in the slide, I would like to highlight shukto, which is an unique vegetarian dish served at the beginning of the meal to enhance your appetite. Fish delicacies and variety of sweets are a must try in the state. Yet again, food brings us to festivities. The festivals are one of the reasons why it is probably called the City of Joy. Communities like the Armenians, the Jews, the Anglos, the Chinese celebrate their festivals with a degree of pomp. The first picture on the slide requires no explanation and no story. Durga Puja is an emotion that every Bengali feels with the coming of the goddess, with her family staying here for a few days and then going back. The second picture on the slide is a festival that is unique of West Bengal, and it is called as Jamai Shashti, where the mother-in-law prays for the son-in-law and the children of the family for their long and healthy life. The festival concludes, like every other festival, with a hearty meal offering all the unique delicacies that the state has to offer. I request Dr. Shomi to take us through the rest of the state of the eastern region.
A state that shares borders with both West Bengal and Bihar, Jharkhand is famous for its natural beauty, particularly its waterfalls. In the times that we are experiencing, lesser known destinations will become prime attractions. Hence, it is time to introduce the world to Jharkhand. Jharkhand is connected via railway, road, and airways, though the best intercity connectivity is with its rail and road. Earlier, a part of Bihar, Jharkhand as an independent state came into existence only in the year of 2000. Extensive lands covered with dense forest and rich mineral deposits, this state is an amalgamation of a rustic charm and parts of modernity. For tourism, you can experience the nature up and close
and also enjoy the slow process of indigenous craftsmanship. While the state was newly formed as an independent territory, the history goes back 2 centuries. Shared history with Bihar and West Bengal, Jharkhand has its own unique presence in terms of tourism, through heritage walks, spiritual offerings, and much more. Scenic beauties, intricate fabric looms, particularly silk weaves, and an experience to meet the indigenous tribes. The state has balanced offering for any globetrotter who's looking for something away from the mundane. One of the prime attractions of the state is our specialized offering, Walk with the Tribe, where one gets to know about the tribe, their lifestyle, crafts, and eco-friendly ways of exploring the natural habitat. And of course, the science of living behind and almost amidst the nature. The prominent cities of Jharkhand are mentioned on the slide, and of course the next also. With Ranchi as the state capital, it is Deoghar and Hazaribagh which attracts the most number of travelers treading the lesser known path. Places like Giridih, Palamu, Netarhat are famous for their natural habitats and tranquility. If you are looking for a calm, quiet, and a soothing experience, then, and if at all it tops the criteria of traveling, please visit the state. Closing to the people, rice being the staple food, one of the must-tries of this region is dhushka. Food is integral. You cannot really experience a state until and unless you have spoken about their cuisine or their eating habit. Mentioned on the slide are the delicacies of the region. Not to forget, like my colleague Shumrita mentioned about litti choka, this also remains quite famous here. Hence, I'm not going to repeat about the dish. We will just quickly go ahead and talk about the festivities that all of this food brings. To bring some smile on your faces, here are the name of the festivals. One of the beauties of the state is to celebrate their local traditions. Sarhul, one of the festivals, it is a spring festival celebrated when the sal trees, the scientific name of this tree is Shoria robusta, if I have got the pronunciation right, that is. It is celebrated when these trees get new flowers on their branches. It is a worship of the village deity who is considered to be the protector of the tribes. People sing and dance when these flowers appear. The deities are worshipped with the new bloom of the sal flowers. How beautiful would it be to see the tribes and the people around celebrating something as beautiful as this festival of Sarhul, and of course the other festivals too. Moving on, we now have come to the neighboring state of Odisha, a beautiful state with a great and long coastline, rich cultural heritage and scenic beauty. This state too is well connected by rail, road, and airways. The intercity movement, however, could be done easily by either rail or road. The chapters from ancient Indian history could be revisited in this state, especially the earliest connection to Lord Buddha and his sermons as propagated by Emperor Ashoka. The mythological scriptures and spiritual connections of the state are worth mentioning. Odisha has a balance of nature and spiritual offerings. If you are in the state, you ought to visit and enjoy the state's known and lesser known beaches, the places of architectural marvel. The tourism offerings of the state can be experienced through heritage walks, spiritual experiences, wildlife explorations, and crafted journeys. The state's beautiful textile experiences can be done through a fabric understanding of ikat and its handloom manufacturing. Ikat is a specialized fabric, something that most of our states have different kinds of fabric. Ikat is particularly pertaining exclusively to Orissa. We have done extensive research and permutation and combinations to get the best overall experience for any traveler. Few of the prominent cities of Orissa are mentioned on the slide. Puri is a must mention for the visit to Lord Jagannath Temple. While the temples remain under the lot of a security scanner, it remains a must visit on the list. If possible, also do visit the side of this temple which has the kitchen to it. It is something which is fascinating for most travelers. For lesser known beaches, Balasore is one of the best places in Orissa, and for an all-purpose visit, One could visit Bhubaneswar, the state's capital. And yes, the Konark Sun Temple is also one of the prominent tourist hubs to visit. Connecting closer to the people of Orissa, we have some of the delicacies of the states as listed on this slide and the next. The first on the list is khichdi, which is something that is served as a prasad or prasadam, an offering that you get to eat at Lord Jagannath Temple. This is a delicacy for the spiritual seekers and believers. Apart from being served at the shrine, the dish can also be enjoyed otherwise. Being on the coast, one cannot miss the fish and crab items available in the state coastline. You have to know the best blend of spices. You ought to taste it too. Equally interesting are the dessert offerings of the state. Listed here are some of the speciality. It is equally mouth-watering, and actually to think of all the food, it only lets you drool over it. Talking about festivals, one of the major festivals is Ratha Yatra. It's listed right here on the slide. Related to Jagannath Temple in Puri, the chariot pulling ceremony of Lord Jagannath is an annual festival. The significance of the festival is so high that this year, amidst the lockdown and pandemic, the Supreme Court of the country allowed the ceremony with a limited and restricted number of devotees allowed to participate in this entire festival or ceremony. Moving on, we have come to explore the northeastern part of our country. In a quick span of time, we have spoken about so many states, but trust me, when we come to the northeast, it is a completely different kind of a feeling and sensation. The pristine, the untouched, the land of seven sisters is what we refer our northeastern part of the country. There are no adjectives which can actually define the uniqueness in this region. Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, and Sikkim. The 8 states together comprise of the Northeast. Though they're referred as the Seven Sisters because the 7 states, if you see on the slide, are combined together, and Sikkim is a little sideways. So all the names of the states that I mentioned are clubbed together, and Sikkim is towards a little side, and that's why it's called the Seven Sisters. But of course, Sikkim is as much part of Northeast as it's part of this entire space. The states are connected by rail, road, and airways, but due to some of the spaces which are in the hilly terrains, many parts are best traveled by the road. Here, we understand the sanctity and the beauty of this entire state. We start with Arunachal Pradesh, the state of the rising sun. The largest state in the Northeast, India. It is home to almost 26 major tribes and 100 sub-tribes. The state is covered by nearly 61% of forest, which adds to its natural beauty. Assam, home to the largest river island in the world, Majuli. Located on Brahmaputra River near Jorhat, Majuli has a stunning view of all across, and it's almost pollution-free. Also, the Kaziranga National Park in Assam is a World Heritage Site and home to 2/3 of world's great one-horned rhinoceros. Who wouldn't want to visit these places, tell me? Coming to Manipur, where you'll find the only floating park in the world. Mizoram, leading producer of bamboo in the country. Mizoram is also the second most literate state in the country after Kerala. And of course, it is a spot of geographical significance too. Aizawl in Mizoram is the geographical area through which the Tropic of Cancer crosses India. Moving on, we have Meghalaya, where we have Asia's cleanest village, located very famously, and of course, is also famous for its living root bridges. Rubber trees have strong, flexible roots that are guided across the river and streams with bamboo leading to the construction of these bridges. Nagaland, where English is the official language. Nagaland and Manipur are the only 2 states in India where World War II was actually fought. The British National Army Museum selected the Battle of Imphal and Kohima to be Britain's great battle in 2013. Coming on to Tripura, the unparalleled architecture to discover. The state is connected to the rest of the country by only one major highway, that is National Highway 44. The state is most famous for its ruling Manika dynasty, which had an unbroken chain of 184 kings before independence of this country. Yes, you heard it right. This dynasty, which is Manika dynasty, had unbroken chain of 184 kings before India attained independence. Just imagine the kind of stories that you will get to hear in this state. And finally, we have come to the sideways Sikkim, like I mentioned on the map. Sikkim is bordered by Bhutan, Tibet, and Nepal, part of Himalayas. The area has a dramatic landscape that includes India's highest mountain range, Kanchenjunga. Sikkim is home to glaciers, alpine meadows, and thousands of varieties of wildflowers. This slide and the next mentions to you about the must visits in northeastern states. These are thematically diverse in nature, from tea plantation to museums, wildlife experiences, heritage, history, and much, much more. The Buddhist monasteries, the hilly terrains, and natural landscapes. The place truly makes it worth a visit, especially after this situation that we all are, the entire globe is experiencing, this pandemic, where we are looking for places which are less crowded and spacious. The Northeast will emerge as a hidden gem for most travelers. After the places, the food of the region brings us even close to the people. They have, and when I say this, don't take it literally, actually, they have some of the sinful delicacies that makes you drool. Listed on the slide and the next are some of the must tries. My favorite on this list is the tenga fish from Assam, something which is a must try when you are reaching and experiencing Assam or the Northeast overall. Here again are some of the savories that you can list, you can see. Of course, the pita and the bamboo shoots have been favorite for many. Try it when you're in Northeast. Food always, and we have mentioned it before also, that food always brings us closer to celebrations and festivities. A range of celebrations take place in the northeastern states. These festivals have actually gained a lot of popularity amongst the people across the country. Many of us travel to the Northeast just to experience these festivals. One of the most prominent being the Bihu, the Hornbill Festival, and the Zero Festival. The popular festival celebrated in the state is a tribute to its diverse culture, heritage, and tradition. A beauty of the East that has been encapsulated by us in almost less than 30 minutes. We hope we have done the justice to it. With this, we are concluding our state presentation of the East, requesting Nidhi ma'am to take the screen space now and carry on with the forwarding session.
Thank you so much, Shomi and Shomrita, both of you. I think that was an insightful glimpse of the beautiful East. And with that, it is now time to move to our second segment, which is the panel discussion. I am very pleased to introduce our panelists for today. Our first panelist is Mr. Sagnik Chaudhary, Regional Director, Eastern Region, Ministry of Tourism, Regional Office, West Bengal. With experience in hotels and ministry, Mr. Chaudhary comes with over 15 years of experience. He has worked in various positions as General Manager for ITDC properties in Bhubaneswar, Patna, Bharatpur, Agra, and many more. He has been with Ministry of Tourism for almost 7 years now. He has served as a state officer for all properties of ITDC located in West Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, and Assam. Prior to his current assignment, he served as a member secretary of the Central Hotels and Restaurants Approval and Classification Committee of the Ministry of Tourism, among various other assignments that he's done. Thank you so much, Mr. Chaudhary, for joining us today. Our second panelist is Mr. Tapas Banerjee, Managing Director, Trinetra Tour. The ownership and top management of Trinetra Tours under the leadership of Mr. Tapas Banerjee is a group of young and dynamic people. They believe they are in the trade for only one reason. They love it. And this is what makes them different from their competitors. With over 30 years of being a travel entrepreneur, Mr. Banerjee and his team create the best bespoke, customized, and personalized itineraries designed completely based on their guest needs and interests. Thank you again, Mr. Banerjee, for joining us today. Our third panelist, last but not the least, is Mr. Devjit Datta, Chairman IATO and President ADTO West Bengal Chapter. Mr. Datta is the founder of Impression Tourism Services India Private Limited, a leading DMC and B2B travel supplier for Eastern South Asia offerings, innovative travel ideas crafted by local experts across the East and Northeast India, along with sub-Himalayan eastern neighbors of Bhutan and Bangladesh. Mr. Datta is also associated with Vivada Hospitality Services for their community tourism initiative in Sundarbans under the banner of TORA Eco Resort and Life Experience Center, and acting as a director in Center for Skill Development in Tourism. A well-known industry activist and orator, Mr. Datta is associated both with the Indian Association of Tour Operators and Association of Domestic Tour Operators of India as State Chairman and BCCI as Chairman Tourism Subcommittee. I thank you all once again for joining us today and taking out time from your busy schedules and being with us here today. Thank you once again, everyone. I now request my co-host, Chaman, to start with the first round of questions.
Yeah, thank you, Nidhi. I think I'll just start with the questions right now. Our first question is to Mr. Chowdhury. Being part of the Ministry of Tourism and resident of the state of West Bengal, do you think somewhere the eastern region as a whole requires much more attention in the tourism industry to gain its due recognition in the global market?
Thank you, Mr. Shamim. First of all, my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Roy and Ms. Sengupta for a very well-researched and very passionately delivered presentation on the states of the East and the Northeast. At the very least, you have definitely done justice to the kind of products the region has to offer, and therefore please accept my sincerest appreciation for that. Now, insofar as the efforts of the Ministry of Tourism and the regional office in all the states of the East are concerned, we have made a very concerted effort to create a visual connect through our various promotional activities with the globe insofar as the region is concerned. Now, India, fortunately, I would say fortunately, is still identified visually with some of its greatest global offerings in terms of tourism, the Taj Mahal and the like. However, now imagery connect, the visual connect with the Eastern region is also established significantly with images like, let's say, the Howrah Bridge or the Victoria Memorial or a bust of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, maybe an image of Mother Teresa, or the universal Dada Saurav Ganguly. You take your pick. So probably yes. I mean, the connect is developing. The connect has developed to a great extent. East is more identifiable, but what needs to be done is probably, there's no end to the extent to which we can promote the products of the region, the destinations of the region, and the services that there are on offer. Now, in your presentation, the sheer variety of products that you already showed to the world today was insane. I mean, right from nature to culture to heritage to people, it's all there in the basket. And probably, within a shorter span of time than anywhere else, you can cover a larger plethora of offerings compared to any other part of the world. So yes, there is definitely a need for more promotion. There is more need for more marketing. There is no end to that effort. But yes, I would definitely say that the eastern part has now established itself in the eyes of the world as a destination worth visiting. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chowdhury. It was very insightful. My next question is to Mr. Banerjee. You have been running a successful business in Delhi with different kinds of tourists who would experience the limitations of creating a unique itinerary. In this completely changed world, what would be your recommendations to create a new and safe itineraries now? Mr. Bernard, you're on mute.
Am I
Yeah,
audible now? Am I audible?
yeah, of course. Now it's good.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for that. No, what I was saying is that I've had about 30 years in this profession. And, what is important for me is to realize, just a second, let me just check. Is the mute on? Is it okay? Am
It's
I
okay.
audible? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, what I was saying is that in the last 30 years, what I've realized is that, we have to identify. I mean, I'm speaking from the tour operator's perspective. We have to identify that, we are not a travel agent where we have to just, book hotels or book, you know, flights or book guides or book drivers. We have to deliver experiences. This is what is, in my opinion, an important thing. Because otherwise, what happens is that we end up just, booking hotels, flights, and then the people just are taking to monuments and attractions. In my opinion, we have to bring to the guest a very fulfilling experience. We have to show them something which is beneath the skin of the destination, something that is much more alive and that they can relate to. And I just feel that it is important for us as tour operators to produce a tour where either we go into the real life situations where we, the local villages or just go into the old cities of Delhi or anywhere else, and so that people have a very relative experience. They can relate their lives to it. And yes, I'm saying that the monuments are important and everything is there, but I still feel that if we can have an element of real India, real lifestyle, that would really be a much better way of projecting the destination. And the guest, for example, when we travel to Europe, if you've seen 3 or 4 cathedrals, I think you've seen them all. After a point of time, the European history doesn't make sense to you. The same thing, when you come to India and you have, say, a Mughal king who has got so many wives or has so many children, I mean, he loses track. And then more importantly, he or she can find that information online. So it is very important for us to research exactly what India City Walks is sort of doing and try to bring out the highlights, the less known, the unusual aspects of the destination and somehow bring it to the customer so that that person has a great feel. And I think over the last few years, several years, we've had an incredible demand and for all these sort of products where, the country as a whole, you know, the less known, the unusual bits, they find a greater expression. And I think going forward, we need to continually research more. We need to bring the guests to our homes, to show them how we live, how people interact, because these are the things that are going to show our destination in a different perspective. And I believe that these can be done safely too. There should be no issues, as long as soon as the country's incidence of virus reduces, I feel that people will travel in large numbers. I believe that people are not traveling primarily, not so much because of the fear of virus, but because of the restrictions. Because as soon as the virus is brought to a certain level, and you have the removal of various restrictions on travel like visas, flights, you'll see people traveling. Look at what is happening in Europe. The moment the restrictions were removed, 2 months back, 2.5 months back, people were dying on the streets in Europe. But you see them now, they're traveling, they just couldn't wait to travel. Unfortunately, there's a restriction on Spain yesterday, but otherwise, people are traveling. You allow local travel in England or in Europe, you will see people are not wearing face masks. US, you will not see people wearing face masks. I'm not saying that they are doing the right thing, but what I'm saying is that people are dying to travel, dying to go out, dying to experience within whatever limitations they're being allowed to. And I think here we need to realize that if we can attract people to India as an inbound tour operator, I would just say, we have to showcase our unusual aspects, our Bollywood, our elephants, timing, spending time with elephants, and all those little things. You know, if we can do the unusual things, that would be um, the best way to value add the itinerary. and it showcases very well. That's what I'd say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Banerjee. Of course, I think our human body itself is programmed to travel instead of staying in one place for long. I think the travel industry will boom. I hope it will boom soon. My next question is to Mr. Datta. All webinars, sessions, meetings are repeatedly mentioning that the tourism industry is the worst hit in the pandemic and probably will be the last to revive. Uh, every day we read about laying off. Many who are associated to this industry also come from the informal sector and not informed. Under these circumstances, it would be really helpful if you could help our audience understand the role of major associations like yours.
Good evening, and thank you very much, Sharmin. Thank you very much for this initiative. Thank you very much for inviting me to share my knowledge and ideas on this. And special thanks to Soumitra and Shomi for the wonderful insight. That is exactly what I have been doing for last 20 years, selling experiences all across East and Northeast India and the sub-Himalayan eastern neighbors of Bhutan and Bangladesh. Well, talking about the COVID-19, the impact, and we have been talking a lot for last 6 months about survival and revival. The entire industry is talking. What I understand is that tourism with the new normal is certainly going to be a major challenge. Now, let us look at the possibilities. I am taking it in a positive way. I am taking it a lifetime opportunity to revive, reset, review, restructure, and revive. So these are the kind of 4 R's which are in front of us, in front of the industry. And there has been a this is a phase of transformation, and there has already been a transformation in since last 10 years, which is called digital development. We are talking to a similar platform. So digital development is actually transformed the industry a lot, and now we are going through a second phase of transformation, which is a very rapid transformation. Now the role of a trade body is very important. I think a majority of the industry till date, they are not really very serious about joining a travel trade body, or joining a trade initiative, and because I think they don't have time, or they don't never took it seriously, or they never felt the importance of be a part of a greater platform. Now any trade body, we have national bodies which has been recognized by Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. We have ITO, which I represent in Bengal, Indian Association of Tour Operator, which is a national body for inbound tour operator. And I also represent AD2I, which is a national body for domestic tour operators in India. We have other national bodies like TAI, ITA. All these national bodies are there. They're performing in their own respective areas. Now what national body actually do? They provide, basically you get 3 different type of support when you are in a bigger or trade platform. Number one is that, to be very specific and precise, is number one is that knowledge. The trade body or trade initiative, they keep on offering, providing you the knowledge in terms of doing business, industry updates, all those facilities available, schemes are available. Like for example, how many of you have heard about service export incentive scheme? Like the amount of foreign exchange that you earn, Government of India provides 7% incentive out of that. So a lot of schemes are there. So you need to be a part of a global national body to know all these schemes, know all these facilities to do business. These are the facilities extended by government. It is facilities expanded by other bodies for doing business, ease of doing business. Number two is the support opportunity. Now when you do business, we all are here to do business. We do business, we are into tourism, we are providing services, and we are earning money, we are earning revenue, we are providing employment, because this is the largest employing industry in the world, and this is the largest industry in the world. So opportunity in terms of marketing opportunity. For example, Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Chaudhary is here. He organized a road show for exclusively for Eastern India, where all the approved tour operators been invited. Now ITO members are there, AD2I members are there. So these kind of marketing, there are a lot of marketing opportunities. So these kind of marketing opportunities will be available to you, or will be more available to you if you become a part of a bigger national body or a national trade movement. And third is the support. Like this is a phase of crisis. Everybody is at a state of confusion. and people are it's getting very challenging for everyone us in the industry to survive during this crisis and then revive. So we primarily don't have, because this entire industry entirely runs on cash flow. So we are running this is a crisis in terms of wages, paying salary wages, working capital, statutory dues, the investment that financial liabilities that we are having. So this kind of way, I must tell you, this is a time when you are getting support every single day. Every association in the other somehow they are trying to support their members, and members are getting benefited by support. So whatever support you get is actually, it's a collective way the association they provide. So knowledge, opportunity, and support that you get to be a part of a national body or a association like IATO and AD2I. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Datta. I think we definitely need the knowledge, the support, everything possible in today's scenario. So thank you for sharing that with us.
I have a question. India City Walk is a part of IATO or AD2I?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that question. So, in fact, we are part of both. So, so my second question, and I would start the question with Mr. Chaudhary. As a regional director of the Eastern region, sir, what would be your steps and recommendations to bring the region back into business? Or what should the on-ground enablers and tour operators do differently in the post-pandemic world to bring attention in the Eastern region? I must mention at this point in time that we are currently in the pandemic and there are speculations around all of this, but it will be great to hear your thoughts in terms of what are the planning or what are the steps one can start looking at today for the future.
The way I look at it, there's been a lot of talk about rebooting the tourism industry, how to start post-pandemic, maybe how to revive the industry and so on. The way I look at it is, we were in the middle of a beautiful dream, and somehow due to some reasons, we had to hit a pause button. And now we are all getting fidgety because the pause has been long enough, and we are itching to get to, we are itching to resume that beautiful dream. So we also need to look at what this pause has actually brought us in terms of opportunities. I'll give you a couple of trivia. Of course, you'll remember this. In the initial phases of the lockdown, there were news reports from all over the country that a lot of wildlife actually came onto the roads and in villages and in the more populated areas. The pollution levels in cities came down suddenly and drastically. The mountain ranges of the Himalayas could be seen from distances from which we could not even dream of having a glimpse of them. So these are certain things that kind of force us to think as to whether this is also an opportunity in disguise. For example, this is a great opportunity for us to take a look at our more ecologically fragile destinations. The pause in travel has actually given us an opportunity to calibrate the carrying capacities, to evaluate and then calibrate the carrying capacities of these ecologically fragile destinations. In my region, in the eastern region, Darjeeling is stuttering from a tremendous water supply. I mean, you will see tankers all over that beautiful mountainous town. Manali is not as cold as it used to be earlier. So these are certain aspects that needed a look in for a long time now, and this probably has given us an opportunity there. I do not remember of a time where India, the trade, the tourism industry has connected with the entire world in a manner in which it is doing right now. So every other day there is some event or the other where there is a global connect. We are sharing thoughts, we are exchanging notes, we are talking about the new normal, and perhaps the new normal is not going to be as new as we think it would be. It's just a question of resuming that dream. A couple of ingredients perhaps are missing as on date, but that probably has given us this tremendous opportunity to reflect on how to make it better from here. Uh, of course, there's been a lot of talk about following protocols, safety protocols, uh, work from vacation. Of course, work from home has been in place for a long time now. So these concepts are new concepts, and probably it's time for us to actually look into how these could matter to us in terms of economy, in terms of efficiency, and in terms of result delivery. So that is one take. The second take would definitely be that now, since we have this time to contemplate, let us utilize this time to actually see how to look inwards, probably look at our internal customers, to probably set systems right, to probably tweak a couple of things here and there. And yes, this is a great opportunity for us to promote some. So these are the key takeaways. Of course, Mr. Datta has spoken about a lot of things that are also very vital, very important at this point of time. So I would add these few thoughts.
Thank you so much. And the work from vacation, I think, is the best punchline for today. I think everyone must hear it and everyone must follow it in future and for future. Something that all of us are going to take back as well. And I'm sure my team is also looking at me and saying that the work from vacation is something which is absolutely going to be great. But you spoke about the new normal, and you did mention about the fact that currently we are all connecting. We are all connected in some form or the other. And that brings me to another question for Mr. Banerjee. So what are your thoughts on virtual tourism? Because we've been hearing a lot on virtual tourism lately. And do you think your customer base would be ready to pay for an experience virtually?
Uh, I have a different take on this, because if you look at normal times, there are, so many virtual tours that are already available online. If you look at, even in the even in the after a lockdown in England, I was just the other day watching a sort of a walking tour on in London, near from the London Eye, and they were going over to Westminster and all that. So there's all that kind of a tour that's already available. And I am not very sure, if I were to start a virtual tour, how would it make a difference directly to the customer? Because you see, the virtual tours are already available online. They're already available for somebody who wants to view it. The other thing that we want to remember is that the joy of travel is in smelling the air, taking in the scents and sounds and all those sort of things, like the walks that you do. You know, I mean, how can you show? I mean, we can show them virtually that you do this, you do that, but that's something that perhaps is doesn't even replicate 10% of what the true experience is. And I think in my opinion, feel that virtual tourism is already there on the net. It's already there on somebody's computer. You can look at any city in the world where you want to go, and you get a virtual walking tour, or you get a sight of them, or you get to look at the monuments, and you can do the other experience, other sort of walks that you can do there. But I just feel that for us to, on the other hand, to create a virtual tour would be hell of a lot of expense. I mean, to set up a guide, to get a professional videographer, to get a sort of a whole thing done and have the narration done. And then how do we monetize it? I think when people are available, they have so many available options online. I do not think that they're going to go out and make the effort worth for us, because we can't charge a regular price for a virtual tour. And they can, if they click online and they have a look at a walking tour of Paris, or any of the areas in India, they can easily get those kind of tours. And so my thing is that if I create a walking tour of Old Delhi today, for example, I may not be able to convey the exclusivity of the tour that I do with of Old Delhi with you. On the other hand, it will just say that it's an Old Delhi experience. So I just feel that with so many virtual tours already available, first of all, it will just end up in the stockpile. And second, I feel that, as I said, the importance of traveling. There are two kinds of people. One of them is the armchair executive, and the other are people who want to go out and about. And I feel that people who want to go out and about will never be satisfied by a virtual tour. The virtual tour could whet their appetite, but then they would want the real thing. They would want the real flavors, the real essence that they will like to have that, which is something that they'll have to come and experience. And I personally feel that as soon as the lockdown restrictions are released, I mean, I'm very very optimistic. I'm very confident that people are, as I said earlier, people are not traveling because they're over scared of the virus. Yes, there's a reasonable amount of protection that's required. When you look at Europe, there are still about a couple of hundred cases, or some cases happening daily in England, but people are traveling. So it's the same thing. If we can get our virus levels down to a certain manageable levels, I'm very sure that people will want to travel. And once they do, and I think when they know that in the Indian cities are safe, the destinations are safe, they will experience the tour for actual rather than virtually. Third is that, as I said, monetization is a big issue. I mean, at the end of the day, all our gestures and intentions need to find monetized experiences. People will not pay us for a boat ride in Varanasi or the backstreet walks of Varanasi. They will not pay us. In Calcutta, we would perhaps go into a family's home and have dinner and show them how to make Bengali food preparations. But watching it, they can see it in a cookery class, but doing it themselves with their hands getting dirty, that's something very different. And I feel that that is something that we would be missing if
Yes.
we were going to rely exclusively on virtuality.
No,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much for that. I think that would resonate with all of us very well. I'm going to now, just in the interest of time, move to Mr. Datta very quickly. And Mr. Datta, you're very closely related to the entire rural tourism piece. And as a representative of the West Bengal chapter, what would be your remarks on the efforts made by the state government to revive rural tourism?
Well, thank you very much for asking this question. I don't know how many people is actually aware that West Bengal is having the highest concentration of homestays in the country. The more homestays we can find anywhere, it's there in North Bengal, it's there in South Bengal. And West Bengal tourism is very, very focused about homestays, community tourism, rural tourism, responsible travel, all these things in over the last few years. And in fact, West Bengal tourism is having one separate homestay policy, which has been in officially published. So they give support to the local host communities to build up facilities for the tourists and all. I would like to share one book here. I have it with us. This is actually published by West Bengal Tourism, and I'm sorry because I have a fixed focus, so you will not be able to read it properly. But this is on all the trails, unknown trails and unexplored trails in Bengal, and this is part one, and it has got few hundreds here. It's a chapter one. So we have chapter two coming. It's been published last year. So and personally, I am also associated with the community tourism initiative in Sundarban. It's called Tora Eco Resort and Life Experience Center. It is partially owned and operated by the local community. So it's a wonderful ecotourism project, run by the local community. So uh, there has been a lot of options in terms of alternative stays, village to village life experience, all across Bengal, and this is coming up as one of the most niche tourism product, one of the most important alternative accommodation to explore the unexplored nooks and corners of the state. As you know, from the mountains of Himalayas to the mangroves of Sundarban, West Bengal offers life-changing experiences. And to explore this, experience this unique journey from the mountains to mangrove, you absolutely need to stay some of the homestays all across the Himalayas and the Ganges. Now problem with these homestays after if you're talking about this pandemic COVID-19, the primary problem is there are two different type of problems. One is that I think state is extensively working with that. Ministry of Tourism, they are Mr. Chaudhary, they are working out with like new normal for homestays. There's a workshop they are organizing. In fact, these homestays and like community tourism initiative, partly they have been recognized by the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, through their like classification procedure, and partly recognized by the state tourism department. Now, the primary, as I was telling, like there are two primary challenges. Number one is that I think more than COVID, what is more like serious is actually the awareness about COVID. People at the grassroots, people of this local community, they are actually they don't know about this disease, what is new normal, what is needs to be done. So clear idea is very important. So without having any clear idea, it would be very difficult to extend services to the traveler during this new normal. Second thing is that like this kind of homestays or whatever there which we have across the state, like it is very important that tourism is a joint initiative. It's an initiative of multiple industries, and we have those grassroots stakeholders who play a very important and vital role to for the industry to moving. So we need a holistic recovery. We cannot think about like tour operators should survive, or the airlines should survive, the hotels should survive. So we need to work closely, government and private sector and the industry association needs to work closely to revive with this grassroots stakeholders, these homestays, this regional local guides, taxi operators, all these things. So definitely one of the most interesting and unique experience one can have in Bengal is actually staying with the local community, staying at the homestay. But before that, the awareness is important, and so that the local community should be open to welcome tourists with this new normal, and tourists should have the enough confidence to go and visit those places. This is how we are actually looking ahead in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Datta. It's been interesting talk and interesting to listen to all of your thoughts and opinions. The combined experience and knowledge, what you all have, will not do justice for a single session like this. But time is never shown justice for any person. Just like that, I think it's time that we also go to a closing. But before we close, I would request your closing notes, the final notes you would like to share with all of us. I can allow you around 30 seconds. I'll start with Mr. Chaudhary. Mr. Chaudhary, your last comments for the session.
Thank you for this great interactive session. It was lovely to be a part of this panel discussion. Wonderful thoughts have been exchanged. We have to start looking. I wouldn't say we have to, but yes, this definitely has given us an opportunity to take a relook at the way we perceive tourism as an industry. There are so many things that we can do in addition to what we are already doing, and some great ideas have been thrown in the arena. So probably yes, I'll take a few leaves out of the books that you have shared with us today. And definitely we'll take it from here and make it a very successful, rejuvenating the days to come. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. Mr. Banerjee, you have been very adamant and very optimistic about traveling. Please, we'd like to hear your final comments.
Yes, I think that is what we need to be. Otherwise we will go down the drain. I think because I always feel that everything in this life is finite, and so is the situation with the virus. It is not an infinite problem. We have to we know that it will end one day. And it is important for us then to also realize that when the virus ends, we need to be relevant. I mean, if we keep painting a depressing scenario that the virus is, overwhelming us, then when by the time the virus leaves us, then we will not be prepared. I would just tell my fellow people who are in the travel fraternity that they remain optimistic, they create new products, they find out more, they do more research, find out more digital platforms where they can place their products on the shelf. So as soon as the situation improves, which it shall in the next few months, I think they must be ready to take off, because mind you, we are expecting a tsunami of visitors. That is my optimism and that is my conviction that we are expecting a tsunami of visitors because people are sick and tired. Everybody who asks, even locally within your family, they say, "Oh, we can even if we can go out to our neighboring city or neighboring state, just let this lockdown situation be removed, and we'll just head out." People are dying to travel, and I think there can be nothing more disastrous for us than to have travel back, and we are found wanting by not keeping our products ready, not being keeping our products available to the intending customer. So I think that is what is most important for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ben. Mr. Datta, are you ready for the tsunami, or you got anything to add from Mr. Dadru's?
Well, I have been talking about this, COVID-19 impact, all these things. So I would like to thank you all for, for this wonderful initiative. And I would like to conclude with something to add what Shomi and Soumitra has, spoke about beautiful East and Northeast India. The biggest opportunity is there in eastern part of India is the shared border opportunity. We are sharing border with Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Burma and Nepal. So this is perhaps the region which is this offers a sector or circuit called Eastern South Asia, and it offers shared border opportunities across Eastern India and the sub-Himalayan eastern neighbors of Bhutan and Bangladesh. This is the future of tourism. There are certain facilities which has been extended for the free movement of cruises. By road you can explore one from Bengal to Bangladesh, all those beautiful experiences which are now is a possibility, and which are now which is going to be the future of the travel to this area, of course. And this is one of the USP. And second is West Bengal and Calcutta as a gateway to the Eastern South Asia. There are four major USPs I would like to highlight in this entire region. Bengal by Ganges, which is the Calcutta and the sub-Himalayan part, the southern part of Bengal. Bengal by Himalayas, east by northeast, the entire northeastern region, the Eastern South Asian circuit, and of course, Bengal means business. The kind of infrastructure that we are having in Calcutta in terms of having big conferences and seminars. This is one very important aspect I would like to highlight. The holding conference, so we have 4,000 five-star classified room in Calcutta. Mr. Chaudhary would we go together for the classification. So the biggest, the most modern, convention center is there in Calcutta, Vishwa Bongo Convention Center. The biggest trade fair ground is coming up in Calcutta. So all together, come to Eastern South Asia, come to Bengal, come to Eastern India, and experience something out of the box. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much once again, every one of you, our panelists. Thank you once again for all those great ideas, great thoughts, and such positive feelings that all of us require today. And thank you to our viewers who've been watching us, sending us their love, and sending us such great motivation for all these sessions that we've been conducting. Thank you once again for joining us today. Do not forget to join us for our future sessions, which is going to be on the south of India, as well as the central part of India. The two more sessions are going to be available both on SATA as well as India City Walks Facebook pages. This session will also be available on these two pages. We look forward to your continued support. And on the platform and from the platform of the Digital Traveler, and on behalf of SATA and India City Walks, this is Shaman and Nidhi signing off. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.